about to go on stage at the DMWF. Super excited to be talking about digital in 2019. I hope the audience enjoy it. I hope I enjoy it. I hope you're enjoying it. And I'll see you on the other side. In 2019, I think we can all agree that it's a bit of a confusing time. And I think it's kind of harder than ever for us to navigate through what this means and who we are and where we are. And there's lots of reasons for that. One of the main reasons for that is there's lots of really super cool and exciting stuff going on. But I think as marketeers and digital transformation experts, there's a lot to get our heads around, right? So as you can see from this list of things here, there's lots of new platforms emerging, lots of new ideas are evolving, there's lots of new ways for us to learn things, but also there's all this new type of technology out there that's pretty hard to understand, honestly. So artificial intelligence, the 5G networks coming to us in this year and the coming years. The Internet of Things might finally actually become a thing. So lots of change. And then also, we'll have to learn how to use speech devices as well. I mean, I'm sure many of you have those in your home. Any Alexa fans? Okay, I did say audience participation was going to be part of this, didn't I? Okay, I'll get you in a minute, I'm sure. So lots and lots of stuff that is exciting, but it's really hard for us to figure out often what we do about it and how we move forward with it. So it's not unfortunately exciting for everyone, as we know. It's a really tough world at the moment. There's loads of whole issues about the environment, sustainability, and we need to, obviously, as a collective group of marketeers and digital transformation experts, find our way in this and really make a difference, because it's obviously not a great planet for all of us at the moment. But good news, we've got smartphones, so everything's fine, really, isn't it? So here's a really interesting bit of research that I received, and when I first came into my inbox, I thought, brilliant, that's my events sorted out for the next calendar year. I'll basically do all my presentations about this topic. So this company, Tappable, researched 500 millennials. Not sure what age range they use for it, because that does change every day in terms of definition. And they found out some really, really fascinating statistics, that apparently people are willing to lose fingers rather than their smartphone, willing to give up various things in their life that no doubt they enjoy as well, and 25% would rather lose one of their own senses than lose their smartphone. So kind of scary, but I guess it shows that how kind of bedded in and wedded to this mobile world that we all are. I'm sure it's true. I mean, I can't talk about their research methodology. I can't be sure it was the right sample size, the correct N, the 97.3 efficient, whatever. But it's a bit of fun anyway. So I think what's underpinning this is, obviously, you're a room full of digital natives. I can definitely tell that. And there's, again, some really fascinating research coming out around how we exist in this world and who we are. I've put up some brilliant research here from Ofcom, who do an annual survey of various types of person to understand their digital dispensations, where they are, what they like to use, what devices are hot for them. And as you can see, there's some really, really fascinating trends emerging. So it says here that 40% of adults check their phone immediately within waking up, first thing in the morning. Does anybody here not do that? Does anyone actually not look at their phone as soon as they jump out of bed in the morning? Anyone not look at it last? Really? That's good, impressive, for a good discipline. Though obviously, what I think is really, really fascinating about this research is that I think it kind of shows that really we lie a lot, don't we, in research? Whoever actually interviewed these people, and again, I'm sure Ofcom used the most beautifully constructed research methodology, but what they can't account for is people saying, no, I don't really look at my phone, no, not really. I spend, maybe like 20 hours a week on it, surfing the internet, which clearly we spend 20 hours a day, a lot of us, right, in this room. So, it's an interesting kind of world that we're in as marketeers and digital transformation experts, I guess. Trying to navigate this is pretty tough stuff. Okay. So let's talk about some selfies then, just get you going. How honest are we as a group? I want to get a sense of who you are so I can kind of gauge the rest of the content. So how many of you take one selfie and then post that on social media with no editing, no filtering? No? Okay. How about 1 to 10 pictures per selfie? Okay, that's good. That's not missed. Yeah? Handsome gentleman, I could tell you could get it quickly. 10 to 20 images before you post it? Oh, we're getting really good now. Anyone take more than 20 shots before they post on social media? Is anyone willing to admit that, apart from me? Thank you. Thank you, Matt, on the camera. Okay, anybody take more than 20? Do you like take hundreds of pictures before you'll post something about yourself? Cool, all right. Well, I admire your honesty. I'm not sure it's entirely honest, but I do admire it. This guy here, I mean, he's taking lots of selfies, isn't he? So there you go. So I think the key point around this, and the thing that we have to kind of take on board as marketeers and digital transformation experts, is that in 2019, we're very much in a situation where it's a war for attention for brands that we work for, the brands that are targeting us as consumers, whether that's B2B or B2C. It's very much a kind of war to make sure we get that second of time or that millisecond of time on whatever device we're choosing to interact with at that point. So I think as a kind of thing to move forward on, this is very much what we all need to address and make sure that we're catering for in our own marketing. The reason for it is, I'm sure you've seen this diagram over the past few years and the past few conferences, but this is the latest cut of an interpretation of what happens in an internet minute. And I must give some big shout-outs to Laura Lee Lewis and officially Chad, who I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. If you ever see one of my videos and I haven't, do get in touch if I'm saying it incorrectly. But this is what happens in an internet minute. So just get your head around this for a second. This isn't an hour or a day or what happens in 2019. This is just what happened 14 times in the last 14 minutes, if my brain's working correctly. 18 million messages sent. 18 million in the last minute. Isn't that amazing? Look at the amount of people tweeting. And I think the most incredible part of this is the amount of video content being uploaded and consumed on YouTube. Now, I don't know how factually correct this is. I don't know how they're basing this information. This could all just be something that they kind of do for fun on a yearly basis. But I think, again, as kind of marketeers and digital transformation specialists, I don't think any of this doesn't seem to make sense, right? You can easily believe we live in a world where this is actually happening and is happening every single minute that I'm speaking. So in terms of that kind of war of attention, it's very much the context that we're all working under. There's stuff like this going on as well, which I find is absolutely fascinating. So these are just some grabs of a exchange, a little while back now with Cheryl and Liam when they announced their breakup on social media. If any of you haven't really got over that yet, I'm with you. Okay, we can talk afterwards. I do a lot of coaching. I'm ready to talk about it. But look at these grabs here as a kind of little vignette around what 2019 is in terms of the digital landscape, right? So we have two extremely famous people, very successful people, announcing the breakup of their relationship on social media. That in itself, I could probably talk about an hour about, right? Isn't it amazing? This is the world we're in. And then just some of their fans and followers then dialoguing with them about this, actually discussing this most personal life event of these people with feeling part of it. And I think it's kind of amazing, but it's also kind of shows again where we are in 19, right? It's all about able to voice your own dialogue, your own opinion, engaging, and none of this feels strange to a lot of people. And maybe ourselves, we do this ourselves when we're kind of commenting on strings and posting different pieces of social media content ourselves. So a really interesting kind of backdrop to a lot of what we're working in right now. There's also people like this out there, aren't there, as well, trolls. And contextually, what are they doing? What kind of engagement are people like this doing? The previous example was in their world quite positive. It was kind of engaging. It was kind of offering conciliatory words, whereas people are out there posting incredibly horrific and negative things on the internet. We have to question again, what is this all about? What is this context and backdrop that we're all trying to work in? There's nothing good about this situation, but it doesn't seem to be going anywhere, does it? So again, I think we can't argue that it's a part of the world that we're trying to wrestle with. And then the disruption continues, right? I mean, as a kind of often cited example, I know, but I think Airbnb are kind of worth kind of talking more about on a sort of B2B kind of context. I like to talk about companies and things that are disruptive. Again, this is a little bit of an internet meme, but I'm sure you've read it, which is that Airbnb basically have more people staying in Airbnb properties than the top 5 hotel chains combined at any kind of given moment. They have more bookings than any of the biggest hotel chains. Even if that was almost half true and they had more than the biggest hotel chain in the world, that in itself is incredible if you think that this company's only been around since 2008 and they've absolutely transformed that entire industry. So again, nothing is kind of safe in this sort of crazy world that we're in right now. There's also nothing safe about the retail context either. So those of us that work in the offline and kind of online context, then we're also fighting this kind of phenomenon at the moment, right? And I'm sure we all do this. You go into a store and you're price checking, you're checking out additional content on things, you're seeing whether you can get a better deal somewhere else, whether you can learn something else about it in a physical environment. So again, it's absolutely changing the way that not only do we shop, but the way that we interact with brands. So it's a really, really kind of interesting kind of mechanic that we're all dealing with right now. We're also dealing with situations like this, where companies like Apple can suddenly decide that they want to go into financial services. I don't know whether you saw this recently, but this is the announcement of the Apple Card coming this summer. I'm not sure exactly what they're going to do yet. But the world's biggest, IT company, technology provider, software provider, creator of incredible bits of technology and hardware, now decide that they want to do finance as well. It's a pretty crazy, disruptive world that we're in. It's really hard for us to kind of make this work for our own brands, I think, in the face of this type of competition. There's also this phenomena that I thought was really fascinating with McDonald's buying an AI startup. Did any of you see this report? I don't think many of us saw this one coming, right? McDonald's getting ready for AI by spending, no doubt, several $100 million on an AI startup to support them in some of their marketing activity. But really, really interesting times, isn't it? And this is the kind of competitive landscape that we're working in right now. And this is the kind of Elon Musk appreciation section of the talk now. So if any of you hate Elon Musk, I think it's probably time to go, because I'm going to just wax lyrical about his engagement style now for the next 4 minutes. You all love him too? Yes, good, okay. So this is a tweet that I captured a few years ago, and I love talking about this one as one of the examples of like why this world is kind of crazy right now, but also super interesting. This example here is a few years old now, but it's a Tesla customer, Tesla customer that tweeted Elon Musk, the CEO of Tesla and SpaceX and SolarCity and others, saying to him that you've got a major problem with people parking their Teslas in charging stations and using it as essentially like a parking garage. They're not paying parking, they're just parking their Tesla, going off and having a organic green shake somewhere, and then that's it, they're sitting there for ages. But what was incredible about this is that this guy just tweets this, and pretty much instantly Elon comes back, completely acknowledging that he's right and that there's a problem. And then no less than about six days later, they announced that they were going to instantly solve this problem by rolling out a new software update to the Tesla network. And then 12 days later, not 12 weeks, not 12 months, not 12 years, they launched a whole new patch to all of their systems that meant that people were charged for parking at a charging station on their Tesla app. Because of one tweet, and the CEO personally reacted and personally dealt with it. I mean, that's pretty crazy, right? But from a kind of customer perspective, this is very much where we now expect to be when we interact with companies. And I think it's something we've all got to rise the challenge to is being able to interact in that same way. And then just, again, continuing the appreciation, this is a recent exchange between him and Sheryl Crow. I don't know, a lot of you are super young and cool, so maybe you're not so familiar with Sheryl Crow as I am, but she's a superstar, singer-songwriter, fantastic artist. She also tweeted him the other day saying that she had a problem with basically how the screen in her Tesla goes black when she does a certain thing on it, and how it needs changes to the mobile app. Again, which Elon comes back and says, no problem, totally agree, the Tesla phone app does need to be updated. And again, it's something that I understand they're working on and be rolling out a kind of change to live pretty soon on it. But the point I'm trying to make here is, isn't this crazy that none of us could have predicted this? Even a few years ago, we talk about the prevalence and the importance of social media in our businesses. This is a fantastic example of a standard that ultimately all of us need to reach to. A CEO who's able to, willing and open to admit that he's wrong. But I guess in terms of kind of moving this forward and talking a bit more about how do we get over this and how do we work with our IT teams and our colleagues to kind of move this whole thing forward and maybe act a little bit more like these companies are acting. Obviously, clearly, we do have to think about the kind of privacy implications of this. I'm not going to mention GDPR. Well, sorry, I just did, but I'm not going to go through GDPR because I'm sure it's come up in multiple sessions today. But it's a real live concern, and it's something that definitely the colleagues in your businesses who run your IT and your technology teams, that they're kind of definitely more worried about this than ever, just as we are as marketeers. I think before I get into this next bit around kind of practical sessions and things that we can do and ideas I'd suggest that you experiment with in your own company, I think what it all kind of feels like to me in summation is we sort of all a bit like this, aren't we? We're kind of just sort of balancing. I know this is an incredible shot, isn't it? I kind of feel like this is us right now, right? We're all trying to hang on, aren't we? We're all sort of balancing on the edge of, the kind of unknown a little bit, because a lot of this technology that I talked about earlier on, like AI and machine learning and 5G and going to Mars and whatever it might be, quite a scary territory. It's super exciting, but definitely a risky, scary territory. And I think if any of us are going to embrace this in our own businesses, it's going to take a lot of collaboration between teams, and particularly from a kind of marketer and digital lead perspective in terms of the IT team. That's a kind of really critical relationship. So, obviously, I think we can explore that now in a bit more detail. So, what does the IT team think about marketeers and digital people? What would they say about you? I assume, is anybody here from a tech or IT function, or are you all marketeers? Yeah? Okay. What would you say about marketers? Do they know what they want? Do they always change their minds? Do they? Yeah. I appreciate your honesty. As a marketer, I know I do myself. It's often a case of like, just tell me what you want, right? And as a marketer, sometimes we're like, well, I don't know what I want, or even worse than that, we're going to do stuff that I haven't thought through. There might be a lot of risk around that we haven't really thought through the technical implication of, or the architecture version of. So kind of both sides are really, really sort of often fighting and often not working in a really collaborative manner. And clearly that is not something that we can do if we really want to embrace this kind of huge feature that's ahead of us. So in terms of what you can do, I thought I'd just kind of put down a few bullets of thoughts here, just if this is interesting and relevant to your current situation. But if you're going to work with colleagues like yourself and marketeers like me and others in the room, then often it's balancing that pace of change versus a kind of risk situation that you might perceive, right? But the key to this, and the kind of the first point I put here, which I think is the most important, is that you're not enemies, right? Just because you're in different departments within a company or different functional areas, ultimately you've all got to work together to make something work. So it's absolutely imperative that you kind of start that on a friendship-led sort of way. But I would really, really strongly advocate that any conversation about innovation or new products or driving forward the strategy of your business doesn't just start with traditional ways of doing things. Talk about requirements, the functional, non-functional requirements, as valuable as they are. I really think that it's important that you start instead with visions, ideas around what your minimum viable product is for something, trying to align everyone within their departments around what you're trying to do and where you're trying to go is absolutely imperative, finding that kind of common language and making sure that whatever you decide to do together is agile enough to change, that, you can't just set off on a course that is fixed. Everyone has to try and deliver something, and ultimately we all want to ship product that's going to be useful and compelling for our customers, but you have to be able to change course. I think kind of understanding that from the beginning, in my experience, is the key to kind of getting some of the best out of this technology. And also, obviously, as evidenced by some of these companies we've looked at, they're very much working in an agile manner. They're able and willing to change at potentially at a kind of notice of a single tweet. So you have to ensure that there's a lot of knowledge transfer, that that you're coaching both sides, right? This is absolutely imperative in my experience, is that you can't, again, not thinking in a divided way, but you as a marketer or a digital lead actually helping your IT team understand the kind of strategic rationale behind new products or changes or initiatives you want to undertake is really important. But equally, from a kind of IT and tech team perspective, you've also have to listen to the quite legitimate concerns around privacy, around scalability, around where things sit within an architecture stack, because all of these things are key to enabling what you all want, which is transformation and change and all the cool stuff that we've talked about today. But ultimately, it's about your customer. It's a kind of, I know it's a statement and a phrase I'm sure has already been rolled out today, and I'm sure will be rolled out tomorrow, but I really literally couldn't believe this anymore. It's all about focusing, no matter what that effort is, towards servicing the end customer of your business. And as long as you, the IT team, the marketing team, the digital team, the CEO, whoever it is, are all focused on that outcome, then I think it's definitely going to be a successful venture for you. Okay, so some homework for you. So I would say, first of all, my big suggestion would be is you, as whatever function you're in your business, are you planning for all of the stuff that we've gone through in the last 25 minutes, right? So are you all over AI? Do you understand it? Do you understand what machine learning is? Have you thought about how you're going to leverage fifth-generation networks in your company moving forward? Have you thought about going to Mars? Whatever it might be, you need to really, really start planning it now. But as I say here, guess what? Technology is going to be quite a core part of whatever we do in terms of our companies moving forward. I also, again, just more from a selfish marketer digital perspective, I really encourage you to share the outputs and learnings from events like this and from journals and blogs and whatever it might be. Just make sure you're constantly taking responsibility for sharing those trends, just as you should be taking responsibility for interacting with your IT colleagues about this kind of thing too. I also think what's really, really important is, can you code? Can anyone here not code HTML? I know I couldn't until like, 4 days ago. I just thought I'd better do it quickly before putting that line in. But on a serious level, I could not recommend more. If there's one personal development piece for you in the coming year, then please, all of you, learn to code, because it unlocks your mind in new ways about this tech that we've discussed, especially as a marketer or a digital lead. I really literally could not recommend it. So, please do that. And I think there's some nice nods in the sense. Perhaps you can teach everybody to code, actually. That would be awesome. And then the last bit, and I think, the most important bit, and the thing I'd like you to take home most, is that while this can be very serious stuff, and it can be a lot of zeros on checks, and a lot of big decisions, and lots of big contracts, and lots of procurement, and lots of whatever, like, please make sure you have fun. Whatever you're doing for your living and your job, and wherever you're trying to start up as a company, then please just remember to take a step back sometimes and have a bit of a laugh. It's really imperative to kind of driving it forward, Okay, you all look like the kind of people that can have a laugh, so that's awesome. So, just got off the stage here at the Digital Marketing World Forum in London. Obviously, you've got this far, so I hope you enjoyed the content as well. I definitely had a brilliant time in the room. The crowd was super interactive, loads of great questions. So, I enjoyed it. I hope they enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, leave me a comment, hit the like button. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel already, please do so for loads more content like this. But mostly, I really appreciate your time. Hope you're having a great day, and I hope to speak to you all very soon.